Hello and a very warm welcome back to the garden. In this video I'm going to show you 3 of the plants I'm going to be taking cuttings from as we're getting into summertime. Throughout the summer months, many of our plants are beginning to flower, and it's a good idea for some of them, ones particularly that you want to increase your stock of, but also ones on the borderline of being either hardy or just ones that are a little bit temperamental with regards to our British winters. So within that category for us is the Penstemon, the Salvia and the Erysimum, which is the perennial wallflower. So I'm going to start off first with the Penstemon. If you have been following this channel for a long time, you'll notice that these are perennials that we normally do cuttings of throughout every year. So I apologise if you're watching this video and you've seen this 100 times, but please do watch along anyway, and hopefully you'll get some little bits of extra tips that I might be able to give you along the way. So first of all, our Penstemon. This Penstemon is called Penstemon Garnet, and it really does have such rich colours with regards to the flowers, and they're lovely. The tubular, the bees with the long tongues like to get inside these, get the pollen and nectar. Now these I like to propagate every year because over the winter time, if we do get a really harsh winter, we can potentially lose them. And we do have these in different groups in the garden. We have some here, some in the island bed and some in the main border what we created last year. So we need to make sure that none of these are going to succumb over the winter time. So what we do is take cuttings now, get them grown on, and if we do have any issues with these over the winter, it just means that we've got some that we've kept protected over the winter time, which we can then replace next year if we need to. So when you're looking for cutting material on a plant that is flowering, you ideally want to try and find any non-flowering shoots which are coming either from side shoots or which are coming up through the middle of the bush. So on this one you can see there's non-flowering shoot there, there's one here, there's one there, and if you just go round into the middle you probably find a few more. So ideally non-flowering shoots, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take them down about a size like that to begin with, and I'm just going to grab a few of these. So when I'm cutting it from the plant, I'm just cutting it below where the leaf node is, and then on the plant itself, just so you've not got a stalk, you can then take that further back to just above the pair of leaves just to keep it tidy. So I'm going to take 1, 2, another one there, and that one there. So you're looking at cuttings around that size. So I've got the cuttings there. I'm just going to place them in a bag because I'm not going to be doing them straight away. I'm going to collect the rest of the cuttings first, and then I'll come back and show you how we prepare them. So that's the first one. So this is a new wallflower we've bought this year, and this one is called Lemon Glow. It's got lovely lemon flowers which have varying degrees of yellow and has a delicious scent. So wallflowers can be a little bit temperamental. They can be quite woody if you leave them for too long, and they grow on many various years. So it's a good idea to keep refreshing them every couple of years to keep the vigour and to keep them looking good. So with regards to these, we're looking for, again, non-flowering shoots. You might have to go down into the plant to find these, particularly if it's in full flower. So I can see a piece there, so if I just put my hand out the way, this is a non-flowering shoot which is coming from the main stem. So I'll just get my secateurs there and just chop that one. And I'll see if there's some more I can take. So here's another there. And just a case of finding them. There's one on this side, which I can take there. Then I'll just take one more. Let me see. Probably this one here. Bit smaller, but we'll see if that works. And then again, put them into your plastic bag. And we'll go on to our next one. And the last one I'm going to take is this Salvia. This one is Salvia Caradonna. Has these lovely, rich purple flowers, and the bees just adore this one. So if the bees will let me, I'm going to try and find some shoots to take the cuttings from. So you might have to go again down into the middle of the plant to try and find the side shoots. So a piece like this would be perfect. It doesn't have any flowers on it. And if I just take that just where that leaf joint is, so it looks something like that. And there's a few more in this area that I'll take as well. So that one, and that one, and this one here. So you're looking at around that kind of size. Now let's take all these down to the end and I'll show you how we prepare them and get them ready for rooting. So now is the exciting part, at least for me it is. So I'm going to start with the Penstemon. So these bags are really useful because they not only form the actual carrier for your cuttings, keeping them hydrated, but they also form a little mini greenhouse when you put them over the top of your pot. So they have a dual purpose, so we're not going to waste these. So I'm also going to say as well, the ideal time to be taking cuttings is either early in the morning or later in the evening, particularly during summer. Do not try and take cuttings during the midday when there's lots and lots of sunshine on your plants. Taking cuttings then, they're going to be less hydrated and more prone to failure. So do try and do it outside of the main area of the day when the sun is blaring. You'll notice on this video we are taking them when the sun isn't out. It's still warm, it's still nice and dry, but it's not a sunny day, it's cloudy, so it's an ideal time really. So your cuttings, what you want to be doing first of all is preparing them by taking off some of the lower leaves and getting the size of the cutting down to the correct size. So what I'm going to do is cutting about that kind of size. I'm going to cut down slightly a bit more, so I'm going to take that bit below there, so below where that leaf, that pair of leaves come from, and you can just pull off the other leaves underneath because they're going to go underneath the soil. Just tidy that up. We also don't need the pair of leaves just above there, and we also don't need all this leaf either, so I'm actually going to take that down by half, and if I can I'm just going to nip out the top as well, and that will just help stop it from trying to go upwards and hopefully get some roots developed instead. So your cutting looks around that kind of size. We then dip it into some hormone rooting powder. This contains a fungicide as well as the hormones which is required to make roots, and then I'm going to dip it in along the edge of this pot. So this is a porous pot. You can use plastic, I just prefer to use terracotta, and this is a compost multi-purpose with some added perlite for drainage. That just makes sure that the cuttings have less chance of getting too waterlogged, and rot. So I'll show you again. Quite a nice size cut in this one, so I'm going to cut it first of all below the leaf joint. Then I'm going to remove these leaves. Shorten all the leaves down by about half and just try and nip out the growing tip. So something like that. Hormone rooting powder, and then just dibble it in and press it down. So in a pot this size you can probably fit a lot more than what I've got. I'm just showing you for the purpose of doing it this way. And then pop that in alongside. We sometimes get asked, why do you put them at the side of a pot? And the reason for that mainly is because the side is a lot more free draining. You find that the sides of the pots dry out quicker than the middle of the pot. So it's just helping to not have the cuttings sat in water too much. And it also means that you can get them out easier when it comes to transplanting them when they have grown roots. You can fit a lot more in if you put them around the edges. So they're probably the main reasons. So once they've been done, we then give them a water. The compost was watered beforehand. And then what we do is we seal all that moisture in with the bag. So that just goes over the top of the pot, and then just secure it by zipping it up. And that is the first one done. So I'll pop that down there. I'll move on to the next one, which is the Erysimum. So the technique for doing these cuttings is pretty much the same. You're taking the tips. I mean, with regards to these ones, they're a little bit on the hardened side. So these Erysimum ones, you can take soft tip cuttings if you can get hold of them. This is more like a semi-hardwood cutting. It has got some rigidity to it. So if I just get my pot, the next one. And what we're going to do with these is the same thing. So we take out a snip just below where the leaf joint is. Remove some of these lower leaves. And just nip out some of these longer leaves a little bit. And then dip that in the hormone rooting powder. And in it goes. So some of these have got flexibility in the edges, but a little bit more of a harder base. I'll just nip out that top bit there. So sometimes it's easier just to use your fingers just to get it done quicker. This is a bit of a smaller one, this one. Giving it additional water. And then pop over the plastic bag. And then lastly we have the Salvia, Caradonna. So let's get these out of the bag and let's get them prepared. So I have 4 nice cuttings. And like I've already said, these are soft tip. They're flexible all the way down. And with these, just like the other ones, we just need to take off the lower leaves, because they'll be going underneath the soil. Remove some of these extended leaves there, so just like that. If you can, just nip out the tip. So you're looking at something like that. We can then put that into some hormone rooting and pop that in along the edge of the pot. I'll do exactly the same thing with these ones. So as you notice, I've already cut just beneath where the leaf joint was. Just reduce some of the foliage. Doesn't seem to have a tip on that one, so that can just go in as it is. Next one. What I find so fascinating about cuttings is that a small piece of material just like that can produce a whole new plant. It's absolutely fascinating that these plants can regenerate roots from the stems. And no matter how many times I do this process, I am still fascinated with the fact that when we come back to these, we're going to have the starts of new plants. And if you wanted many more plants, you can obviously put lots more within this container. So I'll give that another water. I have already watered it already, pre-soaked it. Just let it finish draining. And then let's get on the little mini greenhouse bag. I'll stop these cuttings from drying out. Okay. It's also a good idea to put the name of the plant on the bag as well, and you can also put the date on there as well, so you know how long they've been since you actually started to begin the process. And that is all 3 of the cuttings I wanted to show you today, all ready and prepared. The last thing to mention is where do you place these now. So these need to go somewhere fairly warm but out of direct sunlight. They will kind of root on the outside now. We do get very good temperature during summertime, so you can potentially just put them to one side on a rack, or if you've got a greenhouse, put them in the greenhouse. If you have one of those mats that is a heat mat that you can plug in. That will speed up the process, so try that as well. We normally put them in our summer house towards the back, just where there's a lot of warmth but it's not in direct sun, and that usually does help. And within maybe 4 to 6 weeks we should be getting roots and then getting them out of these containers and into their individual pots to grow on further. Another plant you can take cuttings from this time of year is the lovely Sedum. Now a lot of these will have shoots that have got flower stems on, but if you do poke around in amongst the bush you might be able to find some smaller shoots. So for example, something like that, and we just nip out the top and prepare it in the same way that I've shown you with the other ones. The only difference is with this one, because this is a succulent, I won't advise putting a plastic bag over the top of these ones, because it's going to create too much humidity and you'll probably end up with these actually rotting. We do have a separate video on rooting sedum cuttings, so I will put that link on the screen and also down in the description. In addition to sedum, you can also try this with nepeta, so the catmint. You can also try this with agastache. You can try this with verbena, with fuchsias. You can even try it with the likes of the hydrangeas and also with things like lavender. There's a whole host of different plants you can now take cuttings from. My main tip in terms of timing is do it in the morning, in the early morning when the plants are at their maximum for hydration. Don't try doing this in the middle of a heat wave. Don't also try doing this if you've got sun blaring down and it's a very warm day, because the plants are already going to be stressed because of the sun and they're not going to be at the maximum moisture levels in the leaves and stems. So try this in the morning. Another great tip is decide on which plants you are going to take cuttings of the night before. Give those plants a really good water in the evening beforehand, and then come to the plants in the morning. They'll be fully hydrated and you'll be able to take really good cuttings from those. So we'll leave the video there. I do hope you found this informative and enjoyable. I do hope it's given you some confidence, if you've not tried cuttings before, to try this process and grow some more plants for free. This is a wonderful process to do. It's quite an easy process when you think about what we're doing, but it is really, really good if you want particularly plants that are a little bit borderline tender or do have a susceptibility of potential losses over the winter time. It just means that you've got plants as insurance, so you don't have to go out the following year and replace them and spend more money. Please hit that like button, please subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop those in the comments box below the video. We will see you very, very soon on the next one. In the meantime, please do take care, and as always, happy gardening.